I just got done using the restroom. As you can see, they're training me to take a shit. They're doing this to psychologically poison and to make sure that they keep this into the racial superior of who they want to see win and who they want to see make sure whose team is going to win, and persecute my biological father, claiming the dead body of my dead sister, our dead sister. You don't know and understand the hatred of what they're doing. And I don't know if it's the military soldiers that are psychologists and getting college degrees that are now being applied, because I was referenced as military psychologists that are doing this, and so they have the mentality of shoot to kill, and they're supremacist whites, they're racist over there as well. So, like I said, I think it's important for me to say this, Mikayla, please be careful with your life and everything that's around you and the stories of my biological father still alive. Because when I continue my story to what I was saying, I went into that apartment. When I was there at that apartment, I was sitting down, and Kenneth is like this, and I'll draw some pictures, and Headcrack's here, and Kenneth is over here, and we're watching TV like this, and Kenneth is sitting over here, and he goes, and I goes, oh, what happened? He goes, this is your 3-bedroom apartment? He goes, oh, yeah. And he goes, oh, yeah. He goes, yeah. He goes, and he's looking at the TV, and he goes, oh yeah, David stays over there. And he's kind of giving this weird look, like attitude or some shit. And he's pointing over there, because remember how my biological father showed up in that apartment? And so when he does this, I'm kind of like, it just seems very fucking suspicious. Like, I'm not trying to think suspicious of it, but it's very unusual, because to me, there is no reason why I have anything not to believe to think that Kenneth would have portrayed and lied like this. Not just lie, it's so vengefully cutthroat, disgusting, that is so profound. I mean, this piece of shit motherfucker should have gone to prison, or he should have had the murderer tip him. Someone should have beaten his ass. Because you're dealing with a dead little girl, my dead father. This guy was never a part of my life. He just showed up after my dad's dead. I told you he stood in front of the casket at my dad's funeral. And I think it's important to say this, because when I'm sitting there, I'm like, and the room to the right of the TV is, it's a 3-bedroom, it's which David stays. And I say, oh, where's David? He goes, oh, he's not here. Oh, yeah, he stays here. He goes, yeah, he's in there. Yeah, that's his room right over there. He goes, yeah, that's his room over there. But he gets an attitude. But he's talking about my biological father. And you know what he does? This is how I know what he does. And he starts building. He would not know this information unless Sarah Cooper or the team of people that were homosexuals that were stalking my biological father and Julian's team and going after me informed him what was going on, because no one else was in that apartment. No one else was. Oscar's mother was. And there was supposed to be some other drug addicts. So I talked about what was going on in that apartment. There wasn't a whole lot of traffic. There just seemed to be, every couple of days, someone new that showed up, some drug addict guy with Oscar's mother. So when I'm looking down the hall, when he points to the other room, he was like, oh yeah, that's his room. It's not down the hall, but it's literally right next to the large screen TV. It's a pretty small apartment, 3-bedroom. And he just, oh yeah, that's his room over there. He goes, yeah, he just stayed here for a couple of months, and he found another place. He's looking for a job, and he's scumming the like what they're doing with my mother, how they're having her twin represent her, and it's not my mother. That's what he's doing with David, representing my biological father. But he's sizing me up. He's already accusing me to be a traitor against my father, and he already portrays that attitude and actions against me. He doesn't even know the story. He doesn't care. That's exactly how Sarah and Cooper and Sarah had done to me for a period of time. Now, I think it's important because my biological mother is nowhere in any mental state to do any speaking anymore. They're poisoning the shit out of her identical twin to literally wipe away and erase any existence of my mother's mental state of who she ever was and anything she has to say anything about it anymore. So they're covering up using the identical twin in order to get rid of the rapes and make sure that their white supremacists and their homosexuals get away with what they did to me and my mother. they're spending their money to buy everything off because there's nothing also that can ever be done because there's just too many rapes they got away with. The police department was directly involved in this and did this. So whenever he's sitting there, we're watching TV and we smoke a joint, or like he sparks up a joint, and it's real cheap, you know. He drives a Cadillac, has a lot of money, doesn't show me his room, you know, and I just go to the living room, right, and I see if there's a birthday cake. It's, oh, someone's birthday cake? I go, oh yeah, it's my birthday cake. Yeah, it was my birthday a couple days ago. Or he says something like that, but he gets an attitude, and there was no reason for an attitude. I was always very polite because I didn't know anybody that was on any radio show. I didn't know anybody that was involved in any music that at least just some sort of success. And he was having me fooled this whole time. So when I get up, I don't even stay there maybe 40 minutes to maybe an hour most. I stay there to about an hour. And before I leave, you know, we're watching TV, and he was like, oh yeah, it's my birthday. And so he knows my same biological father. He knows that Raymond Paloma, my dad who raised me, we share the same birthday, January 6th. So before I leave, I go just to take a look, and I'm just looking over at the birthday cake. It's like on an island table in the kitchen. And when I go over there, he kind of gets up and kind of follows me a little bit, and I'm kind of looking. And I go, oh man, he goes, oh, that cake looks pretty good. He goes, oh, and he's kind of walking like this in the kitchen, and I'm over here, you know, just a couple feet away, and I'm looking at the cake. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, man. You got a birthday cake and whatever. And he sort of is going to, he goes, and he's like grabbing a cup or some plates. He goes, yeah, you want a piece? He goes, yeah, you want a piece? And he gets an attitude when he says it. And I kind of like, and he knows my birthday. You know why? It's because he says, oh, you want to steal from your dad? You want a piece? Huh? Remember your biological father? So he's already persecuting me this. I'm not crazy, and I'm not making this up. Now, Head Craig seems, when he's next to me, have you ever been around somebody that seems like they're just waiting for you to die or waiting to get something off you like a vulture? That's how he was like representing himself. And he was just kind of like, and he was looking at the TV, and they already had this conversation because they're all homosexuals. So I think it's very important for me to say something. I think it's important for me to say this, that he was making direct threats. And the thing is that when we're sitting on the couch, we didn't do much conversation at all. He said, I go, oh, where's David? He goes, oh, he moved out. Yeah, he goes, he's looking for a job. He finally found a job. And he goes like this, like smirking, because he's making fun of my biological father. He's like, oh, you need to find a job, fucking punk bitch. Like, that's what he's doing. That's the mentality, and that's what he's doing. He should not know anything about my biological father, and neither should have Sarah whenever we went to the funeral. So I talked about, but I think it's important. I'll draw a map. I don't know if there's cameras. I don't know if there's hidden cameras, recording devices in these apartments that he was in. I think there was. I think that there was some kind of hidden cameras at one of these apartments, because I've only been to 2 different apartments that he was at, and that's the only 2 apartments I can remember of. I think there could have been a third, but there was only 2 apartments that I recall that he was at, and he got an apartment, and I seen Chip over there a couple of times. I only went to that apartment to one he lived by himself in maybe 10 times in the entire time he ever lived there. I would not even 10 times. I would say like 5 or 6 times. But I think it's important for me to say this because this is the apartment that he took a long time ago whenever I had my bone marrow transplant, where I put this entire huge grow kit of a plant inside his apartment because he said he could put it in his apartment. Him and Chip are the ones that told me, like, oh yeah, you should buy it, and then we're trying to sabotage him. But no, I didn't. I said this in a video that I knew they were trying to sabotage me because I can tell the attitude they both got toward me. Like, they were accusing me of like, oh yeah, go ahead and take it. Like, they were trying to investigate, thinking I was after my dad's money and that I wasn't really around my dad, and I was just some vulture over Raymond Palomo, and that wasn't the truth. So I wanted to say something that's very important about this because Kenneth was making direct threats and making fun of my biological father. I don't know if he's still alive. Now, I said this before and how he was trying to take ownership several times of that dead little girl, and he was doing it directly to my face. I was very young and using it as a mop-up rag right in front of me. I'll draw some pictures of it, hopefully, and you can think of it whatever you want, but I think it's important. Whatever struggles my biological father, I'm not looking for another biological father. I mean, for another dad, because obviously the time is gone. Whatever got sabotaged, got sabotaged. And I think it's important for me to say this because I do remember him crying, and I remember the few moments that I shared with him, and I remember what our circumstances were. It was almost like he didn't have a choice. That was going to be probably the best choice to lead me there so that I would be more abundant in my life. So I think it's important to say something, because all these homosexuals and everything, they're going to do everything because of them. And I know what I'm telling you. So in this situation, I want to say this, Mikayla, because I don't know if you were close to your father. I don't know, like Hector, I don't know the fact that if you were really close to him, or he had a tragic accident or something happened to him. But I think it's important for me to say this because I do care for the man, and he's a straight man. And, I understand that we make mistakes in this world. But I very dearly feel sorrow for him, and feel to reach out to him for any suffering in life that he had to endure that caused a lot of pain in his own life. And the reason was that is because of several groups of my family and the homosexuals that were all involved in this. And you don't understand how the LBGT community and the corrupted police officers had caused all this. They were doing this also at my job site. When I was at Advanced Graphics, there was one guy that I worked with in a big office, in a big room at Advanced Graphics, and the guy looked like my biological father. Now, that guy over there, like when I worked, he looked like my biological, and they had these people pretending. They get these acting roles. A lot of them, they do it everywhere I go now, but they were doing it then. And I was working with this guy, and this guy, like I'm 25 years old, and he tells me, he goes, yeah, you know that guy over there? Yeah, he has a couple kids. He goes, yeah, he goes, yeah, you know that guy? He went to prison. He goes, no, he's retired. He's getting a driver's license to drive an 18-wheeler. He used to drive an 18-wheeler. Yeah, he makes really good money over there. And that's what he was doing. And they were all patronizing my biological father that he was a scum piece of shit, worthless motherfucker, scumming him to me so that they could make me as vengeful against Raymond Palomo as they could, as a traitor, as someone that was only after his money. These people don't even know the details, don't care about anything. This is all about the straights versus the homosexual faggots. That's all this is about. Nothing. Please do not take any word from any of these people. They are directly against any heterosexual people. They're going to scum off anything. This isn't about love and kindness. This is about scumming worthless life for the profitable gain for the gay community. So, like I said, by this time, I have no idea my biological father is my biological father. I only, up until I was in my 30s, when I was in Denver, Colorado, and Columbus Park, when President Barack Obama drove by in his limousine with like 100 cars. There's like literally 100 fucking cars. I couldn't believe it was, I don't know what was going on. I didn't see no parade, but it was like 5 limousines, and I'm not even kidding. It drove for like 40 minutes nonstop with police cars with their lights on, siren lights on, no sound was on, like 25 ambulance trucks, and with American flags on a specific limousine. So I think it's important for me to say this, because that's when I found out that I was like, wait a minute, and I had to go to the mental. They picked me up and took me to the mental hospital, and I was just petrified. I couldn't believe that I didn't know my biological father, and but there was no certainty, there was no conversation, there was nothing. So I think it's important for me to say this, because I'm not the professional. It is too late, and I'll be talking about some other subjects that I think is important to rely, because I don't know that relationship you had with your biological father. I don't know how often he was in your life and how much he tried to reach out to you. I just know this: if you're a little girl and you're that pretty, he had to have been part of your life, because he's going to be thinking of you. He's going to be thinking of you. Someone's going to touch my daughter. Someone could touch my daughter. Someone can do something. Because I know him well enough that when I was around him and I saw him, if he knew that if you're his little girl and you're that pretty and beautiful, someone could take advantage of you as you're a teenager, as you're a little girl. So I know that he would have likely been a part of your life. But I think it's important, to say this in the protection of his life, and how the homosexuals are all working together, the gay community, and how what Kenneth had done directly to me. You have no idea how he's taunting, and this is what these people are doing, and several other people he's gooning up with Super K, and they work the radio station. So anyway, I thought it was important for me to say this. I couldn't have been more honest in life with my father that I was very close to. These people completely only thought I was after my dad's money. That's all they ever thought I was after. They have no earthly idea how close I was to my father, and how our inner circle and our family home worked. Like my dad, when he was raising us, he took me and Frankie to soccer games. He went to my basketball games. When I got in trouble in school, he went to school and was talking to the principals and talking to the teachers. And he'd always say, "This is my son, this is my son. No, this is my son. I'm not telling you, I'm a little kid. Every time I ever went, he goes, so who's this? He goes, oh, this is my son." My dad was always very proud. And I don't think I've ever shared this on any video. Everywhere we went, where people would question why I was with this old man, or they ask us for an ID, or they ask us, who's this, or does your grandson? No, that's my son. Like every cashier or grocery store or principal's office, a new teacher, wherever it was, my dad was always, no, this is my son. I don't want him touching my son. He always said that. We're looking to get a discount at Brahms. We used to go to Brahms all the time. He would say, that's a nice grandson you got. No, this is my son. And he would say, very proud. I mean, he would say that all the time when I was growing up to other adults and other people and other parents. And he used to always say it to the soccer games I was in. I remember the parents would have their kids there. And he goes, oh, who's this? He goes, and my dad would be like, yeah, that's my son right there. And that's what he would do all the time. So I think it's important, because I've gone over this so many times, picking him up drunk off the streets, and then he killed himself in front of me when I was 12 years old. He had this story to give me my dad's house. We didn't get anything. I didn't get anything. I didn't get this money. Ended up getting stolen, and there was other family members that ended up coming and stealing everything and poisoning. They bought everything. I owned nothing. I owned nothing but a bag of clothes when it was over with. When my father was dead, I owned nothing. The history and all these things that had happened. I went to a nursing home for 7 years, rehabilitating. That counted nothing for what Kenneth was doing to me and what he was doing in that situation. So, but I will say this about Kenneth. I talked to Kenneth, and Kenneth, toward like 2 years after my dad died, after we're hanging out here and there, he said, I told him, and I said, my dad killed himself, right? And he goes, what? He goes, yeah, he killed himself in front of me. He took a bunch of pills when I was 12 years old. And I told him this, because I think it was like right after my bone marrow transplant, or right before my bone marrow transplant. I said, I thought you knew. He goes, no, I didn't know that. So that's something that he said he didn't know. I doubt that he said he didn't know, but I told him that. I said, yeah, my dad killed himself in front of me. When I was 12 years old. I was going to a nursing home for 7 years. I thought you knew that. So I know that he was very deeply in this information about what was going on, but you got to understand how I'm being persecuted as a gold digger. How I'm being persecuted by several other people, that I'm just after his money. I'm not really his son, because this guy shows up. And nobody understood anything. Just because someone shows up, they don't know the details. That's why that guy showed up claiming he was going to rape those little girls. I don't know what that story was. I don't know what the circumstances to this situation ever was. But they went after our biological father. They're going to torture him at work They were pestering him in every situation. So he will learn to either hate me or he will learn to despise me, because that's how they're training him, like they're training me, like they're training my mother with her identical twin. That's not my biological mother. My biological mother, I know who she is, and they're trying to poison and erase that because my mother was being raped. I told you, I don't know if you know this before, I don't know, who knows, maybe you got a psychological degree, but you have to understand that whenever this circumstances, this is now a different story. I talked about the story, the police officer showed up, I was in my room and I opened the door and they were already walking into the kitchen, and they were after speaking to my mother, they came into the house. Someone had called the police saying that they saw a kid get hit or crying like someone got hit, someone was hitting a kid. And I know there wasn't any because the kid wasn't even outside. I don't think they were even out. I think they were outside for maybe just 5 minutes, but there wasn't no crying. There wasn't anything that happened. Someone made up a story. And I looked at I was looking at my mother when they were talking in the kitchen. I think there was 2 police officers, and this white police officer, blonde-haired piece of shit. This is whenever he's talking to Lucio, and Lucio's like, me and him, we hate each other. Like we want to kill each other. Like he's living in the same house as me. He wants to take my dad's house, and he's trying to rent out the house. He's pointing his firearm at me, and I'm pointing my firearm at him. We hate each other. We don't talk to each other one time in that house. Every time we look at each other, like we're pissed at each other, like we're just looking to kill each other. And my mother knew this. But when we go, and when I'm in my room, and he talks to the police, he goes, yeah, it's because just, some people, around, they just don't want things to happen the way that they want. And he says those almost exact words to the police. And the police officer, this is what he does. And he's talking to me and he goes, and he's walking as he walks by me like this. Like I'm standing here and he walks and he walks by me like this as I'm in my room. And so this guy has no fucking idea that this guy is the one that stole the child, twin baby. Let me tell you something. Within 4 months of that police officer threatening me, this is how they intimidate and using that homosexual shit. This is a gay police officer, blonde-headed piece of shit. This is what this guy does. The other police officer, I couldn't tell his reaction because he was over by where, he had his back over by closer to this living room. And I couldn't see what he was really doing. I think he could have been a Mexican guy, or he might have been a Mexican guy. I can't remember, but I know he was to my right. I'm going to say I think he was. But within 3 to 4 months of that, this is the same situation when my mother I want to say this is about the time when my mother got ran over by a forklift. Now, when my mother got ran over by a forklift, this guy, now if he's not the biological father of my mother, he was raping my mother. He wasn't raping, I don't know if you want to say, I don't know what you want to call that, but he was screwing my mother and he was staying in the room. So if it turns out that this guy was not the biological father of Marco and his twin, I can tell you this, you have no idea how treacherous and how awful this truly is and how bad this really is. I'm getting the assumption that I think David might be the brother of Marco. His father or someone he knows or someone that's related to him may be the biological father. I don't even know. I still to this day don't know, but I have doubts that I don't think it's Lucio. I don't think it is. Because let me tell you something. I cannot be as honest as I possibly can. If there's cameras, talk to Julian as well about what I'm about to say. If there's cameras, recording devices, you can verify. My mom said this. We were not bitter at each other. Like when I moved out of my apartment and I nearly died from this aplastic anemia, I was 18 years old. I was kept on bleeding. I didn't know I had aplastic anemia. I was living in Centerpoint Apartments. When we went back to that house, Lucio wasn't there. It was just my mom and Julian and Marco. And we were just talking pleasant, very pleasant, like old times. It felt really great, like it was just old times. And I say, he goes, no va a venir Lucio? He goes, no. They go, no, yo no quiero ir para allá. Yo no me quiero ir para allá. I don't want to go over. I don't want to be over there. And she said, yeah. He goes, dijo que, I don't know. He goes, I don't want to go over. I don't want to be with him. If he wants to come and follow me, he can. I don't want to go over there. Ya no quiero estar allá. She didn't want to be at that house with Lucio. So when my mom was when my mom was in the living room. I asked her, there's cameras and there's recording. You could say that it was pleasant, and she was being directly as more honest as you could express how she was expressing that. And I asked her again. I was like, because I was wondering. I was like, why did she move out of that house? And I thought it also led to because my Lucio's son died in a car wreck. He got ran over by an 18-wheeler, and I don't know if that had something to do with it. I think it caused probably, without a doubt, some sort of troubles. I don't know what that really was, but it's very confusing because I don't know who these strangers are. I don't know what the hell's going on with these strangers and these people. But my mom said she didn't want to be with him anymore. She didn't want to be with that dude anymore. And she was like, oh, fue a venir Lucio, sigo, y si él viene, puede venir por mí, if he cares, he wants, but yo no quiero ir allá, I don't want to go. My mom kept on saying, and I was wondering why does she want to be over there? She had a house, she's renting out the house, it has to be really bad where she's at, whatever guy she's with, has to be really bad for her to not want to be over there. Because when she goes back to the house, it wasn't just because of me. It's because she said she didn't want to be over there. She didn't want to be with that guy. So I don't know if something else is covering this up, or maybe she was just talking about someone else. You know how I talked about Jillian my mom having twins with Julian, or triplets, and my mother would express that differently? Maybe my mother was talking about Marco's biological father is because she didn't want to be with that guy. So I don't know what the situation is. I thought I'd touch base with this. And Julian, I asked Julian, and I said, "Hey, Julian, how come y'all came back? What was the reason? How come y'all didn't, y'all just get up and leave a house and you have a family and you just had a kid with this guy? You starting a family." And so when my mom is in the house, I go to Julian's room and I ask him, and he goes, "Yeah, Mom didn't want to be over there. She doesn't want to be over there anymore." He said this himself, so you can ask him and verify this. But like I said, I'm just running out of fuel anymore. That the harm that at the scale, I feel very deeply that I feel like God is going to punish me for the things that if I had never said anything when I could have, but I know that God will understand how violent these electronic devices are and what these people have been doing to me for so long that I had no choice. And that was the reason why. Jesus Christ, Lord, our Savior, who paid for our sins on this earth, because all human beings are sinful naturally, is only used as a getaway plan. They do not believe anything in that. They genuinely are not spiritually. They don't follow. There are people that don't believe in Jesus that follow more of the book of Jesus than these people do. They just say that they do. And it's a free ticket. It's a dumpster. This is a free dumpster to kill and rid of any human life that you want. They don't see that as loving, kind, understanding, fear, God, heaven, devil, Satan, archangels, spiritual wars that are going on between evil and bad, demons and angels in this world that we just don't understand very well. We're a spiritual existence. They don't believe in any of that shit. They don't believe in human compassion and understanding, or to look forward into that. That's why it happened to me and what these people did to me, because I was more righteous than any of these people. And when it comes to my immediate family and to what these things were going on, so I think it's important for me to say this because that's why I have to go to Jesus. This is why, because the magnitude of what they did, and the groups of psychologists and the groups of money, every single celebrity right now is bashing the shit out of me and my biological father, my mother, and you, Mikayla. They're from top to bottom. Every nasty word and horrible thing you can imagine, that's exactly what the fuck they're doing. You can not even come close to understand every tracking device. Every time I say something about anybody, specifically you or biological father or anyone else, I go to Walmart, I go to Hannaford grocery store, they're waiting for me, and they send these actors to play these roles of people. They have these people roles playing you. And when they present and claim to be you, they represent and they come at me very dark and negative and vicious and malicious at me. And it's to condition me and to train me this way, the same way that they're doing to my mother. They did to my mother. But I think it's important so you and your family, I don't know if you have kids, maybe you had kids, it's hard for me to believe you're not married. I think you either would be married or you had a wedding ring, but I think it's important for me to say something because, you are my sister and I love you as my sister. And I hope that you understand that you will forever be my blood. And there's something very special, the fact that you are my blood and my sister. You really are a part of me. It's not like Sarah Cooper and these pasteurizing white supremacists or these racial things that they're doing. And my mother, I could never explain to you how much hated Sarah. You know what's the one thing my mother used to always say around me all the time? For years she would always say this. She goes, Sarah, she just likes to put on a show. Sarah's foolish. Le pongo un show. Oh, mira, yo soy este. I'm this right here. I'm this right. And that's how my mother would do the body language. She'd go, oh, she puts a show and show. She put a bullshit. And my mother would say those. Let me tell you, it took a lot for my mother to say those types of words. Because they weren't coming from me. They were coming from her. Like, I barely need... She would say this for years. She really despised and really disgusted. If it turns out that the biological father's connected to the Cooper side family or someone over there, the ultimate spit in your face, ultimate guttering, garbage, worthless body of a human being, disgrace of a bitch they treated my mother to do that to my mother. That is the ultimate, because you put the seed in one of those motherfuckers in my mother because she got scared and you bought the house or whoever did. So I think it's important for me to say this, how nasty they are. I don't know how much time I'm going to have left and what opportunities I'm going to have, but I just know that I have to focus on Jesus and God and nothing else anymore. I threw all my books away, that Buddha, Yin Yangs. I threw away any Buddhism, spiritual books. If it's only going to be the Bible or just literally just, based on true story books or regular books. But anything spiritual, if it's not with the Bible, I don't want anything to do with it. I've been forced, I've been trained, I've been threatened. They do this every phone call I make. When I call the insurance company, when I call medical companies, they transfer my calls to people that are conditioning me and threatening me. I have to say this very clearly. I know that I'm not going to be here for a very long time. They are just preparing my death. And I'm doing the best I can to stay alive and enjoy some little fragments of it. But you have no idea the burning hell that I'm really experiencing in so many circumstances, even still to this day, that I'm taking the abuse because I'm being pinned down like in ways that I don't even want to go into more discussion other than this is the process of what they're doing. And it is to exterminate my life as a worthless piece of meat and to sell me for sex and to get rid of my life and to feel good about that murder. That's exactly, and they send their people to do it. There's no reason the magnitude of hatred, the devices, the electronic devices that keep shooting me, my brain, my private parts, making me shit nonstop. Every morning I wake up, every morning that I've woken up since I've lived here, I have to take a shit when they tell me to. They can tell when I wake up or I start to have brain activity and I slightly start to wake up and they turn on an electronic device and it makes me get up and forced to go take a shit immediately. I have to. Every single morning they make me get up early in the morning and force me to get up and take a shit when they tell me in order, like a personal prison. They have me in a cage, in a kennel cage, like a dog, like an animal, and that's what they do. It's time for you to take a shit. Just like I made this video early and I was trying to finish it, they let me finish it and I had to go use the restroom. Every single day, they're forcing me to take a shit 3 or 4 times a day. But every single morning, guaranteed, they wake me up by forcing me to take a shit. That's exactly how they wake me up. I don't get to wake up naturally like a human being. People dream of this throughout their whole work life, that they think about the Saturdays and Sundays they don't have to go to work and wake up whenever they want. And they get to wake up naturally, not forcefully. I don't get to wake up naturally. I have to wake up when they tell me to, like it's a normal job. I have no recollection of how it is to wake up early in the morning naturally without being forced to take a shit and just lay in bed and just slowly, gradually wake up over like an hour, or 30 minutes, or 40 minutes, or several hours. I have no recollection of that. I have to get up and take a shit and wake up when they tell me to wake up, like an alarm clock. I hope you're okay, Mikayla. I hope the best for you. I hope you sincerely understand that I have no reason to lie, to act crazy, to make believe things. I hope for the best of your life, and just please stay protected. Don't trust these psychologists. I can tell you this right now: my mother's twin has been beyond anything very nasty to me to describe how nasty this situation has been. That you're using my mother to get rid of my life in the most heinous and disgusting ways that they're telling her to do. She's not doing it. They're telling her to do it, and she's just going along with it. Because my biological mother, I have had no contact in the last 20 years, but just one time that I'm aware of. They've had their identical twin posing as her, and then she's saying threatening things, all these things toward me. So I think it's important, because no one knows the story of my mother, the birth of our sister that died, and how she's being mutilated by the gay community, and they take ownership. It's very racist. I know your mom's white. I don't like to be racist, but you don't understand. This side of the Mexican world, it is the shithole. It is we're just shitholes. It's the whites that come first. You're more likely to be safe over there. The blacks, and as vicious as they are, control everything. We're very weak on this side too, because it involves all prejudice, sexual genres, genders, and sexual genders, and racism. It's just prejudice. It's just all the same thing. But I thought I'd make a video. Please be safe out there.